Yep, I finished The Mandalorian season 3 and yeah, it's a mess. I really struggle to really sort of understand anything that really happened in this show. There's just so many sequences that just change all the time, so many characters that you just don't really care about, and every single episode just plays out this sort of silly order of events that just happened right in your face, and you just somehow think, what does any of this mean to me? But yeah, all I can say is that The Mandalorian season 3, there's literally no story when it comes to Star Wars. I mean, it's just flat, it's soulless, and there really is no purpose. Like every time I just watch this show, there's nothing really that sort of comes up to build tension or build excitement at all. It is really flat, and it's really poorly written as well. But yeah, what I would say this series really suffers with is just the lack of story there is. I mean, there is each episode has its own sort of narrative in some sense of how it builds up the story, and I think it does try to follow some chronological sequences from other episodes as well. But to be honest, I don't think really anyone would really kind of come back to remember really, because it wasn't like the Mandalorian, although it was a good soft touch show, basically demonstrating Din Djarin and Grogu's bond and how they kind of went across their journey. I don't really think it really had to rely on such a strong plot to really kind of get the message as good as it was to really make the Mandalorian successful. But the problem is that there is just too much characters in this series that everything just doesn't sequence well. So there's like one episode where Din Djarin goes to Navarro to help Grief Karga and to sort of prevent a group of pirates of invading his planet. There's also one time where Din Djarin tries to walk the holy waters and he gets captured by a monster, and somehow Bo-Katan Kryze now becomes the savior of the show. She is pretty much most of this series is kind of centered on her more than Din Djarin. I don't know why they even bothered calling it the Mandalorian at this point. And there was also like a one other episode where, you know, someone called Dr. Pershing, who to be honest with you, kind of getting back to my mind, I kind of forgotten who he was and what his purpose was. But now he kind of gets betrayed by an Imperial ally who works for Moff Gideon, tried to sort of hardwire his brain. I don't know what the purpose of it was. It didn't explain anything to me. But everything in this series just happens, you know, very bluntly. It doesn't explain anything, and I just really kind of just sat there just thinking, yeah, this is pretty much the end for a story of Star Wars. Like a Star Wars universe, all this sort of thing that Disney want to try and build up, it's not working, and it's just everything is just really unchronological, uninteresting, soulless, and just so disconnected to really how good writing and storytelling should be. But also, there has been lots of reaction on social media when it comes to the writing of the series, and yeah, the writing is pretty bad. So there's one episode in particular that kind of exemplifies how bad the writing is, and it basically sets out where Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, and Grogu go to a planet. I kind of forgot what it was, and they basically try and sort of solve this sort of droid malfunctioning issue. And they basically go there and they want to try and find a suspect for it. And they capture the suspect and they sort of take them to the this sort of captain and the Duchess, who is played by Jack Black and Lizzo. And to be honest with you, when I heard about Lizzo, I genuinely had no idea who she was. I'm not even joking. I have never heard of her until like some of my family members had to tell me who she was. But I looked her up. She has no acting credit, and it kind of just shows she can't act. And I know it's a cameo role, so they obviously wanted to not put her in a very serious position. But there was literally no connection between Lizzo and Jack Black like as characters in this show. There was no real chemistry. They don't even look like a couple at all. They just sort of there to just sort of be made as some sort of mockery, really. And the writing is awful. So it's just basically they capture the suspect. He's like, oh, I really do want you to accept my forgiveness. And then the Duchess comes up with saying that, oh, I'm very disappointed with you, Commissioner. isn't a little bit of forgiveness so important for a galaxy so vast? It's like, is this what Star Wars is? Is this how people in a galaxy far, far away really try and communicate with people? I don't know, but the writing is awful, and I think really the seriousness of the way this series goes really affects it. And I just really think there was just this whole narrative around this season. I don't know what they were doing to really come up with some sort of storytelling that makes any sense. It's just flat. It's boring. I keep repeating the words, but it really just doesn't really work from a writing perspective. But I will state though, I do think the last episode a little bit kind of got that anticlimactic episode a bit. Not a lot though. So they do get some good action sequences, and the action sequences with Moff Gideon as well worked really well. I'm not going to kind of go into depths of spoil as well. To be honest, there's nothing really to spoil in this show because there's virtually no plot at all. But I think some of the action sequences work well with the visuals. I will state though, I do think the visuals became so they just become so disorientating, and it's just really just gives you like headaches and migraines all the time. So there was like one particular scene within the last episode. There's a bunch of stormtroopers on jetpacks as well as the Mandalorians in their jetpacks, and they all form as a group. Honestly, kind of watching it, it just looked like a some sort of feast of flies just somehow colliding with each other, fighting, and it was just so I literally just wanted to fall asleep because it was just everything was just happening so quickly. The camera was just panning around like 100 fucking miles per hour with just standstill fighting. It was like the visuals were bad in that respect. Very rarely as well, I think in this show there isn't so much of really any sort of space battles or sort of starship battles. I mean, they do get a little bit of into it. I think the fourth or fifth episode where the pirates invaded Navarro kind of had that. But even the last episode there was a bit of that, but it was very short. But to be honest with you, I really struggle to really kind of come across with any standout moments in this show, which maybe the last episode kind of delivered. But really, there really isn't so much of really a purpose with this series. I do kind of feel this is kind of one of the worst Star Wars series I have seen. It's hard for me to say because I did enjoy the first and second season of The Mandalorian, like watching the journey kind of go along with Din Djarin and Grogu, but this one didn't really have that connection, and I felt that there was just other characters that were kind of taking over instead. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt about this series. But yeah, overall, if I had to rate the third season of The Mandalorian, I'm gonna have to give it a 2.5 out of 10. It's pretty rough. I even think even just giving it a 2.5 of some kind is even generous for some people. I really, really struggle to enjoy this show. It's at best soulless and empty of any sort of atmosphere. And it makes me really question, really, where's the direction of this series going to go? I mean, I know they're planning for a fourth series, but is anyone going to be excited about it? I mean, I don't think many people were even excited for a third season of The Mandalorian. I just somehow come across it with a little advertisement, really. Just thought, oh, okay, I'll give this show a watch. But yeah, I really do question the future Star Wars projects as well. I probably would watch it because I think Star Wars as a name doesn't die, but really, I don't really see how they're going to really sort of connect the story well together for the other series. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.